The story begins with a fragile little boy fighting for his very first breath. Born 3 months too early, his body was so small and weak that even the nurses whispered that he might not survive the night. His parents ran everywhere begging for help, clinging to any hope that could keep their son alive. In the end, his father made a desperate choice. He sold their apartment just to pay a sorcerer to perform an ancient ritual. The family lost their home, moved into a tiny rented room, and started life all over again. Yet every time his father remembers that moment, he laughs softly, blinking back tears. Because against all odds, Yeon-min survived. But survival came with its own shadow. Growing up, Yeon-min carried a quiet softness inside him. He always felt delicate, out of place, almost convinced he was the slowest, dullest boy in the world. He kept to himself, shy and lonely, until one day, he met 3 little boys who were just as clueless as he was. From that moment, the 4 of them became inseparable, 4 tiny musketeers who stuck together like glue. They even turned their insecurities into games, competing to see who could act more foolish than the others. Through the years, their bond only grew stronger. By high school, each one of them had become a chaotic masterpiece. Tae-jeong, the golden genius, always ranked first in school. He dreamed of becoming president someday. But for someone so brilliant, he had a dramatic heart. One slip in grades and he'd act like the world was ending. Unlike other top students, he could also fight, so no one dared mess with him. Bok, on the other hand, hated studying so much that he perfected sleeping with his eyes open. He called it entering nirvana. His mother was a nun who hoped he'd inherit the family's Buddhist tradition, but all he wanted was a peaceful nap. Then there was Yeon-min, not great at academics, not athletic, not especially handsome, at least in his own opinion. He called himself the little town's average-looking, but somehow this average face was adored by every girl, every auntie, and even little kids. People found him cute, funny, warm. He thought it was because of his goofy smile and secretly dreamed of becoming a legendary DJ. Finally, there was the giant sweetheart, Do-jin. He once dreamed of becoming a basketball star, but an injury crushed that dream and apparently rattled his brain as well. He constantly complained that his parents wouldn't let him adopt B, who turned out to be a full-sized cow. One afternoon, Yeon-min brought all of them to the small studio where he practiced DJing. While Bok and Tae-jeong wandered around lazily, Do-jin suddenly felt something awaken inside him. Since childhood, he believed he had perfect pitch, even though it was pure imagination. But belief can be powerful. And that day, he proudly declared he would follow Yeon-min and become an artist too. When he told his parents, he was kicked out within minutes. He ended up living on the rooftop of Tae-jeong's house for a whole month until his parents finally gave in. Only then did his journey into music officially begin. From that day, he and Yeon-min began to dream of performing together on the massive stages of IDM festivals. But reality was humbling. Their first stage was still the rooftop. Just when life felt perfect, the universe shifted. Yeon-min's family announced they were moving to New Zealand. After graduation, the friends would be separated. They had never gone on a real vacation together, not even a proper school field trip. And their last chance almost didn't happen. 2 days before the trip, Yeon-min was robbed by a gang of thugs. Just as he braced for the worst, Tae-jeong appeared like a storm, taking on the whole group alone. Yeon-min grabbed one of the attackers to help. Soon, Do-jin and Bok arrived, but in their panic, they ended up hitting poor Tae-jeong instead. The school punished all of them, banning them from the field trip. That night, the boys decided they would create their own trip, one that truly belonged to them, their dream destination, Thailand, where their tightrope walking idols were performing. But they were broke, and none of their parents would allow them to travel abroad. Just as everything seemed impossible, Tae-jeong stepped forward. "This is the last gift I'll give you guys," he said quietly. "If you sleep 3 hours a day, you can achieve anything." And he proved it. He aced his university entrance exam with a perfect score. While Do-jin believed he must have guessed the answers, Tae-jeong just smirked, determined to show the world that the boy they once called an idiot could shine brighter than anyone. His parents celebrated like they had just won the lottery. A huge feast was prepared, families were invited, and Tae-jeong's father proudly announced he had slaughtered an entire cow for the party. Do-jin cried silently for his beloved bee. During the celebration, Tae-jeong's father promised his son a generous reward. Without hesitation, Tae-jeong said he wanted a trip to Thailand with the boys. His father hesitated. 4 boys alone in another country? Maybe next time, he said gently. But next time was the phrase the boys feared most. Yeon-min's eyes began to sting. Tae-jeong's voice cracked as he tried to continue. Because deep inside, they all knew this was their last chance to hold on to the youth they built together, before life pulled them in different directions. And in that silence, something shifted. Because this wasn't just a trip. It was the final memory they wanted to carve into their hearts. The moment the word graduation was mentioned, something inside all of them softened. They weren't thinking about achievements or the future. They simply wanted one beautiful memory to hold on to before life scattered them in different directions. And right there, all 4 boys broke down crying together, loud and unrestrained, as if trying to freeze time with their tears. No one expected what happened next. Yeon-min's mother stepped forward, her voice trembling with emotion. She said she would pay for their entire trip. She thanked those boys because her son had survived, grown strong, and lived joyfully thanks to their friendship. This was her way of returning that blessing. The boys erupted with joy, shouting with wild excitement, running around like children finally given the world. Soon, the long-awaited day arrived. The four of them climbed onto the bus to the airport, buzzing with energy. Yeon-min even joked that in 10 years, when he became a superstar DJ performing worldwide, he'd fly them out as VIP guests. They laughed and dreamed, believing nothing could stop them. But life rarely follows the script we write. On the highway, the bus stopped at a small forest station. Out of nowhere, Bok clutched his stomach and sprinted to the restroom. Minutes stretched into an eternity. By the time he returned, the bus had left, and so had their flight. Their dream trip disappeared in a single moment. They promised each other next time. But before next time ever came, Yeon-min's family moved overseas. 10 years passed. Their tight-knit group slowly drifted apart, living separate lives. Tae-jeong was now the secretary of a National Assembly member. His days were packed with speeches, schedules, and handling a boss who pretended to go on hunger strikes for public sympathy. The staff secretly handed the man energy bars, and while he acted noble at first, he eventually gave in. But when he tried slipping one to Tae-jeong, the young secretary tossed it straight into the trash. "Please don't do that," he said. "It's an insult to the commissioner. Better for him to grow weak than for the people to lose trust." The commissioner dramatically agreed, claiming he would faint there before eating. But moments later, he couldn't stop staring at the snack in the trash, swallowing back hunger. Meanwhile, Bok had become a tattoo artist inside the temple where his mother practiced. She still hoped he'd walk the Buddhist path, but he believed his destiny was with ink and needles, not gongs and chanting. He wasn't ready to surrender worldly desires, not yet. As for Do-jin, the freest, most childlike soul among them, he had suffered a mental breakdown. Although doctors claimed he was improving, Tae-jeong and Bok saw the truth in his vacant eyes. His trauma had left his memory fragile, his emotions unpredictable. Still, the doctor approved his discharge, assuring them medication and rest would stabilize him. Tae-jeong immediately planned a small reunion meal for the day of his release. That same morning, the TV announced something that stopped time itself. Yeon-min and Do-jin's idol, the legendary DJ, was holding his final tour in Thailand. One last show before retirement. Those familiar beats awakened memories that had slept for a decade. As promised, Tae-jeong and Do-jin met at their old barbecue spot. Before they could even sit properly, Do-jin excitedly tried calling Yeon-min, but Tae-jeong stopped him. It was midnight in New Zealand. While they ate, a bald figure appeared at the entrance. It was Bok, or rather, Monk Bok. His mother had shaved his head and forced him into monkhood training. He was now practicing alms begging and would officially be ordained next month. The sight of a monk in a smoky barbecue restaurant stunned every customer. No one knew whether to bow or offer him more pork belly. But Bok simply picked up his chopsticks. "I haven't fully let go of earthly cravings yet," he said, chewing calmly. Then a young woman appeared, bright-eyed, determined. Snail, the girl, who had doted on Tae-jeong since high school. He always dismissed her as a background character in someone else's love story, but she never gave up. She came today after begging Bok's mother for his location. Back then, she was close to Tae-jeong's little sister. One day, she was cornered by bullies, and Tae-jeong happened to witness it. He didn't even fight, he just warned them softly, and they scattered like terrified mice. "The next time they bother you," he told her, "just say you're my girlfriend." From that single sentence, she chose her destiny. Every day she visited his house, doing chores, asking for snacks, until Tae-jeong's mother affectionately began calling her my daughter-in-law. Eventually, he chased her away to study properly. But Snail only became more determined. She vowed to work hard, pass Seoul University, and win him. She never reached university, but she never stopped pursuing him either. Tonight, she sat beside him, radiant and stubborn as ever. Tae-jeong sighed softly, telling her she had the means, but not the fate. Then he turned to Do-jin and asked if he had any wishes. Without hesitation, Do-jin whispered, "I want to go to Thailand, to finish the trip we never had." But Tae-jeong immediately shook his head. With Do-jin's unstable condition, traveling was too dangerous. No matter how much he begged, the answer remained no. His shoulders drooped, disappointment swallowing his earlier joy. That night, he tried calling Yeon-min again. Once more, Yeon-min said he was busy. For the first time, Do-jin sat silently, eyes unfocused as memories flickered like broken film. Back to the night his parents threw him out, when he slept alone on Tae-jeong's rooftop. And it was during those lonely nights. Something unforgettable happened. Those nights on the rooftop came the happiest memories of their youth. Even though Do-jin had been kicked out of his home, he was never truly alone. Every evening, the four boys gathered under the dim rooftop lights, laughing, arguing, comforting, and healing one another in their own chaotic way. Bok would sneak out from his mother's temple, still smelling faintly of incense. Tae-jeong carried stacks of textbooks, determined not to fall behind. And Yeon-min, ever the wild spark, created trouble so ridiculous that all of them forgot their worries. Together, they turned that lonely rooftop into a warm, noisy sanctuary. One night, after working late, Tae-jeong dragged his exhausted body home, only to find Monk-bok lying on his sofa, arms folded as if he owned the place. Moments later, Do-jin emerged from the bathroom, acting completely at home. They had come without invitation, but not without purpose. The three sat down, talking about nothing and everything until the conversation circled back to the same longing that had followed them for 10 years. Do-jin's voice wavered as he spoke about his broken youth, the medication, the confusion, the forgotten dreams, and the trip that never happened. Now that I'm getting better, can't we go just for a few days? He whispered, eyes shimmering. Silence fell. Then finally, softly, reluctantly, Tae-jeong nodded. Bok clapped his hands. If we're doing this, we're doing it the old way. Let's be the dumbest guys in Korea again. The next day, chaos spread like wildfire. Tae-jeong walked into his boss's office and requested leave right before the party congress. His boss nearly fainted. If I can't keep my promise to my best friend, Tae-jeong said firmly, how can I keep promises to the people in the future? The boss stared at him like he had lost his mind, then eventually agreed. He even tried giving Tae-jeong money, but when he opened his wallet, a nutrition bar wrapper fell out. Embarrassed, he quickly snatched the wallet back. At the temple, Bok's mother screamed when he asked for permission. When persuasion failed, he shouted dramatically, if you don't let me go, I'll believe in Jesus. Jesus saves me! Hallelujah! She froze. That was enough to get her to let him leave. On departure day, Tae-jeong arrived at the airport first. A little later, Bok came walking toward him, fully dressed in a monk's robe from head to toe. What are you planning? Joining Shaolin Temple? Tae-jeong snapped. No worries, Bok whispered. I left before my master forbade travel. Running away doesn't violate any scripture. Then Do-jin appeared, dragging multiple suitcases with a wild grin. He had brought all of Yeon-min's clothes, and even a full-sized mannequin dressed like him. Have you started taking herbs or hallucinating? Tae-jeong groaned. Still, somehow, all three made it onto the plane. The mannequin was stuffed into the luggage compartment. While Tae-jeong prayed for survival, Bok meditated about enlightenment, and Do-jin fantasized about the music. Festival. At midnight, Do-jin snored peacefully. Bok entered nirvana, and when Tae-jeong went to the restroom, Snail appeared. My little guy is going abroad. How could I sit still? She said proudly. Don't worry, your bodyguard is here. You'll die faster, but safely. They landed at last. The humid air hit their faces, and everything felt new and electric. Just outside the airport, Tae-jeong saw a wallet fall from a woman's purse. He picked it up and dashed after her. The woman, beautiful, graceful, thanked him and slipped him her phone number. Before he could even breathe, Snail snatched the paper and swallowed it whole. A Korean man who looked exactly like Geum-bok from mythology arrived to drive them. He threw their luggage into a flashy convertible, and they all posed for photos like first-time tourists. But the joy didn't last. Their driver collided with another car. When Tae-jeong tried mediating the argument, the old man slapped him so hard he fell unconscious. The police arrived instantly. Geum-bok panicked and jumped straight into the sea. The boys were arrested for riding in a stolen car. When Geum-bok was caught, he blamed everything on them, claiming they kidnapped his family and forced him to steal the car. The officer believed it immediately, scolding them as if they were the worst villains on earth. The boys had no idea what was happening. They just nodded in confusion. Thankfully, the Korean embassy intervened by morning, and the group was released. Back at the hotel, they praised their room, imagining ocean views, until Do-jin threw open the curtains and revealed a giant concrete wall. Cheapest room in the building. Snail was kicked out and sent to a nicer room. Soon after, they rushed to the beach. White sand, blue waves. Bok still wore his monk robe, causing tourists to bow to him on instinct. When the boys forced him to remove it, he revealed a giant Buddha printed across his t-shirt. The chaos never stopped. They splashed, shouted, played like children, until Bok accidentally drenched a hairy foreign man instead of Snail. The man stared at him with shock. Bok bowed. Later, they stopped at a small beach bar. The owner, Sylvia, was Korean. Snail watched uneasily as Tae-jeong smiled at her a little too long. Something inside her tightened with unease, and when she noticed Do-jin clinging to the fake Yeon-min like they were glued together, even Tae-jeong shivered. But what unsettled Snail most was seeing even the monk tossing playful lines at Sylvia. She's definitely part of some underground ring, Snail muttered. And that mosquito swatting guy beside her? A hired enforcer for sure. In movies, people like them drug tourists, and her imagination spiraled, but no one took her seriously. That evening, Sylvia invited them all to her club. Snail's face went sharp with irritation, but when night came, she was the most eager of them all, dressed in glitter, rushing to invite the boys. Yet before 9 o'clock, the entire trio was snoring dramatically under their blankets. Snail stood there frozen in disbelief before storming out, insulted and furious. But the moment she disappeared, the boys shot up like springs. They dressed in their coolest clothes, sprayed half a bottle of cologne, and ran out into the neon night. They had to leave Yeon-min behind. The moment they entered the club, the world exploded. Lights swirling like galaxies, music pounding like storms. The boys felt like they were floating. Do-jin lifted his phone, grinning widely as he took selfies and posted them everywhere. They drank recklessly, danced until their legs shook, letting the night swallow them whole. And then Do-jin looked up at the DJ glowing above the stage. His childhood dream stirred inside him, a dream he had long buried. Meanwhile, Tae-jeong went to the bar and ran into Sylvia. She leaned in with a sly smile and offered him a cocktail. But before he could take a sip, he saw chaos erupting on the DJ platform. Do-jin had climbed on top of the table, pretending to be the headline DJ, waving his arms and screaming with bliss. The boys sprinted up, dragged him down, and carried him outside. The monk paled when he saw their friend's eyes rolled back, muttering, "The rooftop, the rooftop." Over and over, something was wrong. Tae-jeong dashed back to the hotel to get his medicine, only to find Snail sitting there in the dark, hurt written all over her face. "Was it fun?" she whispered, "sneaking off without me?" Tae-jeong froze, sweat breaking across his forehead. He stammered, but before he could explain, Snail sighed softly, her voice trembling. "As long as you come back safe, I'm happy." For a moment, Tae-jeong stood there stunned, touched in a way he couldn't fully explain. Then he remembered his friend was waiting. He rushed back to the club, but by the time he arrived, a crowd had gathered. People were teasing the monk and filming him with their phones. Rage surged into Tae-jeong's chest. He grabbed a chair and swung it wildly, sending people scattering. Unfortunately, that was when the police arrived. He and the monk tried explaining they were just delivering medicine, but the officers misunderstood, thinking he was trying to pull a weapon. In a split second, an electric charge fired straight into Snail, who had just run toward them. She collapsed on the spot. The boys were thrown into a holding cell, right beside the man they called Pigsy, who laughed endlessly at their misery. It took the intervention of the Korean embassy to finally release them. Even though the officer kept smiling, he snapped playfully. 10 hours ago, you were fine. Now look, running me ragged. Don't make me book flights to send you home." The next day, heavy rain trapped them inside. Tae-jeong noticed Snail's wrist was scraped, so he quietly handed her medicine and bandages. Her eyes softened, filling with emotion. "I'll get injured every day," she whispered, "just so you'll keep taking care of me until I die." Before he could answer, his phone rang. His boss's trembling voice spilled through the speaker. "What on earth are you doing? 10 years, and you failed the one promise you made? Pack your things. You're fired." Their chaotic night in Thailand had gone viral. People back home were debating whether they were troublemakers, political activists, or advertising some bizarre doll brand. Rumors swirled wildly, and his boss, already at odds with the Thai embassy, was now caught in the middle of a scandal. While Tae-jeong panicked over losing his job, Do-jin happily counted his exploding follower count. That was the last straw. Tae-jeong snatched the fake Yeon-min from his hands. "Stop it before I rip this pillow apart!" Do-jin erupted with anger. "You and the monk betrayed Yeon-min. He's far away and you never even checked on him. In high school, you treated him like a servant. Now you pretend he doesn't exist." Tae-jeong's blood boiled, but he refused to fight someone who was hurting. He stormed out instead. The monk ran after him but couldn't stop him. Later that night, Do-jin stumbled out to the beach, calling for Tae-jeong until his voice cracked. He hadn't taken his medication and was unraveling again. When he finally saw Tae-jeong return, he burst into tears, leaping into his arms. "I'm sorry. I'm so selfish. I was scared you'd run into the ocean and disappear." Tae-jeong sighed softly, unable to stay angry. Just like that, the group of four was whole again. Tomorrow mattered more than anything else. They had come to Thailand for the music festival. The next day, they arrived at Songkran, the Wild Water Festival, where DJ Star would perform. The same sexy girl from before recognized them and excitedly waved. Then DJ Star himself appeared, revealing she was his girlfriend. He had heard how the boys helped her earlier that day, so he offered them VIP seats for the show. That night, the air sparkled with lasers and music thundered like a living heartbeat. Water sprayed everywhere, glowing under golden lights. The boys felt alive in a way they hadn't felt in years. And then the moment arrived. DJ Star spotted them in the crowd and invited Do-jin on stage to mix a track with him. Do-jin carried the fake Yeon-min in his arms, because this moment belonged to both of them. The group cheered from below, pride overflowing. They didn't know how long the joy lasted. But when the lights faded, darkness swallowed everything. Tae-jeong woke up in a filthy, dim room, his hands and feet tied. The others were bound beside him. They had been kidnapped. And this place was where organs were harvested. The monk awakened next, trembling as memories rushed back. After the festival, Sylvia had invited them for drinks at the beach. Snail had refused, upset after seeing Tae-jeong chatting with Sylvia. 1 second later, he had collapsed. The next morning, Snail stormed off alone, unaware they had been taken. Only now did the monk realize Snail's warning had been right all along. She wasn't stupid. We were. Snail, meanwhile, had been arrested for drinking all the alcohol from the hotel room and refilling the bottles with water. While being questioned, she saw something chilling on the wall, a wanted poster. Sylvia. Back in the warehouse, the surgeon had run out of anesthesia. He planned to operate without it. His first victim would be Do-jin. Just as the blade began to fall, armed forces stormed the building, taking down guards, blowing open doors, and finally reaching the operating room. The surgeon spewed flames in desperation, but a stun grenade silenced him forever. Once freed, Do-jin screamed, insisting they rescue Yeon-min still inside. "There is no Yeon-min," Tae-jeong whispered. "It's just a pillow." When he wouldn't stop, Tae-jeong slapped him gently. "We have to let him go." And then the truth unraveled. 10 years ago, after missing the bus that was supposed to take them to the airport, the driver unexpectedly returned. They climbed in joyfully, only for the bus to crash moments later. Passengers scrambled out. Tae-jeong carried Bok while Do-jin tried pulling Yeon-min to safety. But Yeon-min couldn't stand. His leg was broken. He was stuck. Do-jin ran for help, but the bus exploded before he could return. Yeon-min was gone. Since then, grief twisted itself into hallucination. His mind refused to accept the truth. He created a version of Yeon-min who still lived. And now, for the first time, he admitted it. When he reached for my hand, I pushed him away. I was scared. I ran. He had carried that guilt for 10 years. This time, he would not run. He rushed back into the burning warehouse to save the mannequin. Hugging it tightly, he whispered apologies, remembering every memory until he fainted. The others dragged him out, but the mannequin was still inside. And if they didn't retrieve it, Do-jin might break forever. So Tae-jeong ran back into the flames. And somehow, all 4 of them escaped alive. 20 years as a police officer, one rescuer muttered, and this is the first time I've ever saved a pillow. They barely had time to breathe before sprinting to the airport. They were late. Too late. Tae-jeong cried in a language he didn't even speak, certain he would lose his job. But when he returned with snacks, he saw Bok and Do-jin staring in shock. Snail had run onto the runway to stop the plane. "My love, don't cry. I'll help you get out of this." She stood in front of the aircraft screaming, "Captain, please stop." Security dragged her away. She begged them for 1 minute, just 1 minute. "Sweetheart, don't worry about me," she whispered to Tae-jeong. "Go back to Korea safely, okay?" Then her voice wavered. "I know I'm not your type. I know I'm not educated. I know in your eyes I'm just a silly girl, but when I'm with you, I'm a fragile little weed. From the moment I bumped into you, you've been the only man I want for the rest of my life. Stay with me, forever." She slipped a ring onto his hand. "We're officially dating now." Tae-jeong froze. Security dragged her away. But when he finally shouted her name, she lit up instantly. "I love you. Today is our first date." Panicked, he yanked the ring off. "No, it's not. We're not dating." But fate had already chosen for them. Days later, his boss won the leadership seat, but was bedridden from starving himself for sympathy. When reporters asked for a comment, he couldn't speak. So Tae-jeong translated for him. "I did nothing. Everything was thanks to Secretary Trung. I'm embarrassed by how brilliant he made me sound." His boss convulsed on the spot. A month later, Snail was finally released, thanks to Tae-jeong, who visited every department every day to beg on her behalf. She returned only to find the monk wearing her ring. Furious, she charged forward, but Tae-jeong rushed out and snatched the ring back. And at last, they became a real couple. The monk returned to spiritual practice, pleasing his mother. Do-jin recovered and began working at a travel agency. And together, the 3 boys visited Yeon-min's grave. The monk tried to cry, but no tears came. "It's been too long," he whispered. He wouldn't want us crying. The wind blew gently across the tall grass, as if their friend were still smiling somewhere above. Their story ended there. Of the 4 boys who held one another through fear, pain, and laughter, ended here. Their first trip together became more than a vacation. It became a journey of accepting loss, forgiving themselves, and learning how to grow through grief. From 4 boys who once hid from their past, one burying himself in work, one seeking refuge in religion, one slipping into madness, and one who never had the chance to grow old. They finally walked forward together. They survived the storm, they grew, and they carried with them only the beautiful memories of the handsome, silly friend who smiled like sunlight and left the world too soon. Thank you for accompanying this journey. If the story touched you, give it a like, share your thoughts, or leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell. Your support means everything. See you in the next story.